Welcome back to Living with a Classic. Today's both a happy day and a sad day. Got a green XJ over here. It's not my XJ6. It is a very close friend of mine's XJ6, which you may have seen on a couple pictures around on various Facebook groups for these cars. It was involved in a really bad fire. It was a barn fire where a lot of cars were stored and barn burned to the ground. 2 cars were not able to be taken out of there by the firefighters. This was one of them, and there was another one as well. The other car was completely totaled and nothing left of it. This one, miraculously, it did survive the initial blaze. However, it's been inspected by a couple shops and other things, and it is it's pretty far gone in certain ways. It got very hot. At least the back half of the car got very hot, which you'll see in a bit. And yeah, it smells a lot like smoke and a lot of things. So this car is going to be a parts car for a lot of other cars. So that is a great thing. I am going to get the engine, which will go in my daily driven XJ6. Has a really good engine in it. And the interior will probably go into someone's nice Series 1, and body panels and other things will go into other cars as well. So let's have a look around it, and I'll show you really what fire can do to your classics and to stay safe. And luckily no one was hurt in this incident, which is great. But yeah, fire and that's no fun. The funny thing is, when this car pulled up here on the back of a transport, it's beautiful and sunny. And as soon as it arrived and you start to smell that thick like smoke smell, it really smells like an old cabin, like an old log cabin. It started to get really dark and gray here. But you know, from this end, it looks like a beautiful Series 1. It's a late Series 1. It's a 1972, I believe. And my really close friend, Mats, who had this car, he'd spent years restoring it. And right now, it was just finished during the summer, and he drove it for a bit, and then this happened, which is extremely tragic. But up front here, you know, it doesn't look bad, but once you start looking close, you can even see things up here. Got a pretty big dent here. Something fell on it. It definitely got hot here in the paint as well. It's all oxidized all over from the ash and everything. So we haven't even seen the back yet, where you can actually peel the paint off. So realistically, this car would need all new paint, mostly all new chrome as well, because everything has just been deeply oxidized. And yeah, interior, new headliner, new carpets and everything. Yeah, smells like smoke. You can maybe do something about that, but yeah. If we move back here, we see an odd wheel. That's because that tire, I believe, had melted and didn't hold air anymore. He had those white walls on it. And here you start seeing, you know, remnants of things that have been dropping from the ceiling. So the fire burnt from the top down, and actually a part of the ceiling fell on the car as well. But once you get back here, you start noticing this is just shard. Can you hear that? That's just shard paint. It's fallen off in certain places. And well, yeah, here you see that glass is completely melted off. That has melted to that point over here as well. And you see, I actually think it's pretty much almost like art. I think this should at least be, the owner should keep that and have a look at it, because it's interesting wall art. But you can just imagine how hot everything got if this melted and, you know, paint is flaking off. The number plate changed color. I mean, things got really hot, and you just have rubber and stuff hanging down here and cables. You see everything is just, it's just a mess. So probably everything underneath as well. All the rubber components in the rear are pretty much shot. So it got pretty hot. You can even see the white walls, how hot these tires got. These are not tires you should use again. I mean, you can even feel they're a bit uneven now here on the sides. They're like bulging. So yeah, everything got pretty hot. However, the interior is pretty unscathed, besides that the headliner fell down, and I forgot to show, there's a big dent here. The owner pushed out the dent a bit. It usually went all the way back to here before. He pushed it out so that we could get it a little bit more weather tight in case it has to sit outside for a bit. I'm gonna pull it inside now, but we didn't know when it was gonna arrive here, so that's what he did. And everything is sort of covered in this dust and stuff from the firefighter and the fire and everything. So even though the car's been washed, it just has all that all over it. And I mean, everything just feels sort of rough. And yeah, so it might not look that bad in pictures, and I didn't think it looked that bad at first, but when you see it up close, you realize that sadly it's not a project that the owner feels like doing. But the good thing is the car will live on in parts. So the interior is absolutely gorgeous. This owner has restored the interior, and it is just beautiful. He did it all himself, recoloring it and spraying in all the color and fixing the leather, and so it looks absolutely gorgeous. And the funny thing is, he told me that once he got out to the car and had a look at it after the fire, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of dark now, but the clock was still ticking, and when he cranked it over, it fired up on the first try. Sitting in here, it really does smell like an old log cabin, you know, just like a real fireplace. And it's shocking because it wasn't actually on fire really, it was just, you know, in close proximity of fire. But yeah, the whole thing, even though it's been sitting with the windows open for I think a month and a half or 2 months since this happened, yeah, it doesn't go away. But let's have a look at the engine underneath up front there, and we'll probably start it up as well so you can hear it run. Under here is a 4.2 liter XK straight 6, and not that much damage was done by the fire under here, but you can see a couple things. You see a lot of dust and ash has come in here. There's some rust in places here because the car was just doused in a lot of water to put this fire out. So a lot of stuff like that, but the engine is fine. It runs really well. I'm going to start it up in a little bit, so it will be a good donor for my XJ6. And I have purchased just basically the block and head together because the owner has bought another car where he wants to use his inlet manifold and his carbs, which he has rebuilt, and he's converted them to proper manual chokes. So he wants all of that. Plus he wants his new radiator and electric fans and all of that, and his new alternator. So that's not really an issue because I don't need all the other stuff around it because everything else is fine. It's just, you know, the head and the block that's not fine with my car. And yeah, but I've got the keys here. Fire it up and you can hear it run. Let's see, it is this one, I think. Here we go, and we'll give it a little bit of choke. And that fired into life instantly. Let's see if we can. There we go. And it is running beautifully. And mind you, it's running on the gas that was in those tanks while everything got so hot. It's just amazing that nothing happened to that they didn't, you know, start leaking or anything, that all of that is working fine. So that is just amazing. But as you can hear, it is running very nicely. So a very nice running XK engine. So that will run beautifully in my XJ6. So that's it. A bit of a sad story, the end of a car, but it will be the beginning of, or the continuation of at least 2 others. The engine will go in my daily driven XJ6, and I will absolutely love it because I know how well it runs. It was recently restored. The owner bought the car, which a lot of things were restored, but it wasn't really complete. So he did the interior and a lot of other things like front and rear suspension. But the engine had been restored with receipts from a good engine rebuilder years ago, so it doesn't have any miles on it at all. And I know when I helped him tune this, set the carbs and tune it years ago when we first met, when I was a student, when I lived back in the university town, we met there, and we checked the compression on the engine before tuning it then, and every single cylinder had, I think it was 155 psi, all of them. So a good engine, and it's probably even better now that it's been run in and actually been driven. So that will happen, and my friend who has the car has bought another car, and he will move a lot of the good parts from this car over onto that one. So it will live on, and that's sometimes the only thing you can do. You can't save them all. Sometimes you gotta know when it just makes more sense to move on to the next car. So a little bit of a different video, but I wanted to share with you guys the story of getting that engine. Wasn't really the way I planned to get the engine. I was supposed to get another one, but we may go into that into detail another time when we pull this engine out. So there'll be some videos pulling this engine out, pulling the engine out of the XJ6 and putting that one in there, and that getting all to run. So I hope you guys like this video and that you want to see the other videos as well. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. So until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.